Sureba. Anya one a Shadrach, Dientina, Owusu Sawachia, Media me fata. Aya, Yensusunka, Aya, Yensusunka, Aya, Yensusunka, Obia to me from Soda. Yensusunka, Afurabani was a piano to a baby, your cock, baby, Kowari, or baby, man, if a penny, Nanebano Boniti, Unyanko Pombo, Nikum. Eti wadi Obano Simon, about Tosum, eh, Onusu Boniti, no, Yehoa, Kumukura. Afena kokani bambang mabakupe, anu die wonyini. No dear no ya bofra kora. Iti wakachura na si unise. Ye masita me. Ko waja fie na kwaye kuna. Na me baki tu ayinyini. Iti na mawa wadie. Wenti tamati asia. Okone jafie no kwaye ni kuna. Awe wasam ni sabo fra ni nyini yano. Wamfanu amanu wadie. Yesusunka. Afurabani was when at the Kurubi, Tamatisana Sida, or Qua Cochi Training, Aruti wa Fani who are near. When you couldn't to Manigube, being a fire jamata, dear say, Acquire when you say that a person, a honor cotton now, Boko. Otiwa, one shall not see you down our bando. You dare to no, I shall abandon and say, oh, your Benjamin Fuanti, a corn and chain of catcher and say, yeah, Oba, it bet me a mamma way. Obano Tiasia Mano, it's you catch it, you does say, Mura, any Ahiana Obemame, Mura Ahiana, what the you die and time see me say, Oba, Nama wa ponchi bako, Nemo ma ponchi banunieti, a kwame sumami kwama o de apero. Obana catcher and say, any man me be a bachelor say, Ampa, who ye dear we are now qua over sunny Ampa. Nanko Yankwasi Bukura. Yes, so. Yes, enti yuda ohini odini sanu kawa mobano odina huma mobano odini pomanso kahu etiefo ani amika sai ye yuda bede wa ye wie dada wanitua okoe no suma na ko ase ofa ponche bankomo dwamamoni bano akwanu koduru wonu a ochirichiri ya wenhuno ha ochirichiri ya wenhuno banu ti wode ya ponchi banu sakoe meken anchakura ena yuda betiti na sumse na sitama afaye puno berabesha bufuonie ose mokofanu mera masi tama abwe jamai obiya utikune muna wabwe jamai mokofanu mera maishinukura unim yadi wabanu baya osimati asio mabwe jamai die aso obrama ni sanu kaweni yedi yana humani ro na die ni pomani ro anua na mini na fire kuni ye you done a suicide to be one year won't cope. A somewhere get free now no buy and say, yeah, Munya Oban. Oh, Munya Oban. Sana obey to time me cry. A sanity. I want mene Christopher Obi Adiboni MP wafa pen ena wo jeje nimi me see sanity I want social media Obi Adiboni ehene mpanse oni na mo an okama for die senka ya fani niwi eni yo na esin chense yenka di oya so odin padia enka eni yo na Nasu wanyenya mi adumye no na obuni ni fuatan ye sana besi wo me my Ghana adani atemu nkuwa obi ejani nwan dudu wa kofu obi die ba kopasun ne ho kofi asem ni duru na nani mu no asemiti azedi obatu Nadia wajane yiri num duduwa kufu bidia ba kupasa kumuni kuna kusunu wabuate sani penka opatade anya ona ya shadrantina ususu samidia mi fata wo fa wo anka obenwunse onipa bi ye nyame adum memfanya nsam kiko for doctinity ni unwie Odoka unya bani was a ye ne ye nyamson. Me papa makani say yes sunka ye na fufuro boni hunse. Ebe ya na otini chen bebe. Eti yensu sunka no. Midisi no na mede. Owu a Yesu bewu ma me nu mienu na se ya mu nkwaje ti se ya o se ye bedwane afiri mu sei eti bi nu nyina e ka bom na ya kasa aje nkwa mo oni yafu onyina hinni be na so Yesu wi mami o wi na matna suru Yesu ewa mamenya nkwa o odini boja de se ekruntunu na pepa me bonni Abena Yesu ni majanu ti Nadie menya kwa Nakabone yefu onyina hinini Yesu be uje unkwa Owina atina sura Yesu ewa mawenya kwa Otini majandi siya krunkunu Ana ukuro bodi odofu Yesu ni majanu ti nadie wenya kwa Yenka ajinkomo Yesu mo Wasamina wa mamia Yesu mo Didi mafumo Ajinkomo Yesu mo Wasamina wa mamia Nanka Yesu betimi ahwe nanso obi di ope esi ya nemu awu amaye eti Yesu no aka wose ye mu nkwaje eti se ya ebedwane afiri mu sei Mesi chawani shakabaru timodidu ya nusu sawa dishi ebiri chimuja Enkuwa ya yabone ya fata uwona Odishi esi ya nemu awu Obeko uono kachura yense Mipamerio mamu mpajie Yesu ni majanu ti Nadie menya nkwe Midofu chawani fashe gogota Nanu fiya debi Enkuwa ya yabone ya fata ya suchiye Odishi esi ya nemu awu Obeko uono kachura yense Mipamerio mamu mpajie no Eti Calvary timodi diano sora Ona yenya ya fa kudie Ajin komo ya ji yanko Calvary diano sora mamenya nkwa What you am so worry and I am a content yo. Yes, sooner money. Bedroom.
I'm but we're ready a bit too much of my mind.
Okay. Gidi for imamu nyinaa makɔ aba de ba n'edwumadie so. Yɛdi kan no yɛde aseda yɛde aseda bɛma Otwadi Ampa Onyankopɔn sɛ wabɔ yɛn nyinaa yɛn ho ban so ama yɛabɛhyia mu ha bio. Sɛdeɛ mu nyinaa munim no, ɛnnɛ yɛ this week yɛde asi hɔ ama health. Yɛ health emphasis week. Na yɛhyɛ aseɛ ɛfiri nnora. Nnora mo a mobɛtumi baa laa no so mobɛdii ho adanseɛ. Menim sɛ aboa mo yie paa. Nnora yɛsua biribi fa stroke ho. Na nnɛ adesua no atifi asɛm no wato ne din sɛ HIV ne STI. Yɛka HIV anaasɛ STI sɛdeɛ munim no ɛyɛ ɛnam yareɛ. Nti saa bere yi sɛ wo nua bi maayɛ a anaasɛ mabu no mommɔ mmɔden a sɛ momfrɛ m na mommɛtie. Na ama yɛn ani ada hɔ aboa yɛn ayi afiri nneɛma yareɛ ahodoɔ a atu atese. Na deɛ ɔde adesua no bɛma yɛn no, apɔmuden adesua no bɛma yɛn no, ɛyɛ yɛn yɛba yɛ Dr. Frank Owusu ɛna ɔde bɛma yɛn. Na ansa na mpɛ sɛ mebɔ mpaeɛ ewie a na yɛgyae no ama Dr. na ɔde nsɛm no abrɛ yɛn. Nti ɔma yɛmmɔ mpaeɛ. Yɛda wo ase Nyame baatampa. Nyame a wotumi ade nyinaa yɛ. Yɛda wo ase papaapa wɔ bambɔ no nhwɛ so pa. Ɛnnɛ yɛn nyinaa yɛba abɛhyia mu hɔ a yɛba abɛsua apɔmuden ho nsɛm. Yɛsrɛ sɛ hu yɛn mmɔbɔ ama wo ho kronkron nsiane mmra. Ka yɛn ho na te w'anim kyerɛ yɛn. Yɛgyae ɔkasamafoɔ a ɔne yɛbɛkasa ahyɛ wo nsa. Papa yɛsɛ wo sɛ mma ne nyansa ne nimdeɛ bɔ n'akyi dɔn. Na nsɛm a wɔde brɛ yɛ papa ɛbɛma yɛni ada hɔ ayɛ ahwɛyie. Na yɛde akɔbɔ ɛbra ɛwɔ ewiase asetena yɛn mu. Ka yɛn ho na te w'anim kyerɛ yɛn. Yɛda wo ase sɛ wɔtie yɛn mpaebɔ. Ɔbɛba Yesu Kristo Nasaret din mu nti. Amen.
Amen. Mami sɛ wanyame nhyira wo bebree. Yɛda yɛ a yɛtumi abɛduru line no nyinaa nso ase sɛ menim sɛ saa time nipa yɛ busy paa. Sɛ yɛtumi dedicate 1 hour of our busy schedule sɛ yɛde ba abɛtie apɔmuden ho nsɛm. Yɛda mpanyinfoɔ nso ase sɛ ɔmama yɛ akɔnya yi. Ɛnna megye sɛ dodo yɛtumi baa so no yɛtumi nya nimdeɛ bebree ɛfa stroke ho. Ɛnyɛma bi a na bi a yɛnte da. Through the study no yɛtumi hu yɛ. Megye sɛ yɛde ɛbɔ yɛn bra betimi abo ya ma yahwe ho so ye ne nya stroke. And then so yɛtoa yɛ health emphasis week so the topic in HIV AIDS and sexually transmitted infections STIs. And I'm say if I'm bebree me pese ne yɛbɛkɔ over time nti me limit the number of infections that yɛbɛsua. STIs a dose bebree ɛka sɛ yɛtreating nyinaa probably be here about 2 hours. But my limiting it to the commonest 3 plus HIV account for a tiny padrona. Nti hopefully any baby on time any paper to me abusa questions. I'm at this anymore at the hope. Nti aka STIs are sexually transmitted infections are a infections are a nam and namuna yenya. Infections are fat and nem ena eba. Na namuna nye seni nim se ɔbaa ne bɛrima ɛda no nko a ebetumi afa oral sex anaasɛ anal sex ɛna afei nso etumi fa blood products te sɛ blood transfusion anaasɛ biribi. These days blood transfusion a yɛnya infections from na ɛnyɛ common because almost screening most bloods for most of these infections and making sure say infection be any and then your person say safe say betimi transfuse ya obi. But it is still a possibility. So we betimi any infection every blood transfusion. Now STIs, you know, most of them the bacteria and the deba. There are others and so viruses. Additional which ones are bacteria edeba and some examples of STIs are viruses and edeba. Now symptoms and I say yare no century no I dead do nipadua no e bebre e bi ha any symptom bia century ni bia and dead do nipadua no chese o sa yare no e bi unya mild irritation na say ho baby keka kakra na say unya burning sensation bi e bi also etimi unya source ɛwɔ wase anaasɛ ɔbɛrima ho ɛma ɛda adi sɛ ampa wɔnya yareɛ bi sɛ and sometimes any symptom biara sɛnea adesua no kɔ n'anim ne ɛbɛhu no CDC for estimated sɛ US every year there are 20 million new STIs every year. So number bi a ɛso paa every year that about 20 million newly reported sexually transmitted infections across the US. Now, omo etaya omo ye youth, you know, those age between 15 and 24 years. Omo tanya STIs, you know, and the reasons are simple. Most people are within that age bracket, no. I feel omo having sex for the first time. Most of them they indulge in risky sexual behavior. Maybe it's unprotected sex. Maybe more than one sexual partners. This annual put you more at risk of contracting sexually transmitted infections. In the annual one said adults was our age group of 15 to 24 years. And your first STI your friend chlamydia. Chlamydia is the commonest reported STI or USA bacteria and ediba. Now it's me mema, it's me a man transmission a quite fast obano through vaginal sex. So bano bema and enya mpamunkuta hudi. It means so far anal sex inti a memo ne mema da mom ne mother. And as I saw obema be cranny or bada. No one for the natural way no fat ne to a sevi manima. And so betting me I'm a chlamydia aba oral sex and so it's me my chlamydia eba. And the distinct thing about chlamydia is that ubeti obema or chlamydia da abra on ejaculate but still ubenya chlamydia nibi ejaculation interest ne ho nsuo no as sani free no ebegu mu a so yoba sani hu ensane ne kra obetimi the chlamydia ama so bia na typically na enhyɛ need symptom bia daddy say symptoms eba or both a man and mema no what burning sensations so kwadwon so out say wasi anasa obema mu ehyehyɛ ɛna utimi nya abnormal discharge nsufin bitimi free wase anase obema no say free obema mu eba na for a mema no timi affect testicles no and very common but it's still a possibility into utimi nya pain and swelling or testicles back one as a immune emu. And here's some of the complications of chlamydia. So unya chlamydia na ye treating ye amanankwa is very treatable area your mouth antibiotic echo. The antibiotic could be a one-time injection. A becla yare ninya it means a bit me I can say oral drugs are benum for 7 days I'll be treating them. Now the thing is I say abstaining from sex for that 7 day period now on drone so on to so no medro ni nyina ewie ansa na obetimi a resume sexual intercourse. Now, as with all STIs, no, say unya chlamydia, I say you treat with sexual partner, no, because chances on this will be a very high. Yes, you treat with sexual partner, no, for chlamydia, no, so say you treat chlamydia, no, and as you treat cry, some of the complications that it media on pedia say, it means spread it rectum, be a giant knife and sevi. Medical can say, anal sex into to me, cause rectal spready. But to be a or engaging in anal sex, oba maybe a onye bi na ɔhoro n'ase na sɛ ɔwipe n'ase na ɔnwipe a otumi spread ɛkɔ ne rectum. Kwan ehu sɛ spread akɔ rectum no, utumi nya rectal pain, utumi nya discharge ne biara de free vagina na ebi tumi free or rectum. And our rectum nso utumi nya rectal bleeding. And ehu sɛ yare na spread akɔ rectum. There's a very serious complication from chlamydia, MMR. They're friend pelvic inflammatory disease, PID. Okay, picture here or the right side here. Oba reproductive system nini. Into has asiani cervix. Oba odi and uterus nankasa. And chen or ovaries. No, maybe or two oba tunkusu free no. Now connecting the ovaries in the woman and a uterus no. Yes, that tube way, that slender tube or both sides. Fallopian tube. And this about two kusiabosumi bia a fast tube way now better the uterus for fertilization. And as I say fertilization take place a body in bed disposing as part of the menstrual flow. No. Into here the right side now of reproductive organs as the system no. Once a tissue in the all right side no, I inflamed now compared to the all left side no. And as I red compared to this side no, the other side no. Here fallopian tube in the one as well. And so I inflamed and as I red compared to the left side no. In NHL say inflammation so it's a side effect of chlamydia. And chlamydia gonorrhea, syphilis, Arabia any part of our reproductive system no. As a side effect, it means a journal with PID. PID in the air and say if it's not treated, very painful. Sometimes it goes unnoticed on time I be huna and yoma air catchy. If it's left untreated, inflammation is subside, yeah. A jar with scars or fallopian tube no. It is a fallopian tube with scars a bema and I said akre a bema tubes emusi. It is obano etukusiana nazo ovulate every month. Egg na nkese free ovary mu. Travel through fallopian tube nearby uterus no. Enti minko because the tubes in the into what this does and say a bit me lead to infertility or banning. A bit me see now or more. Yeah. And this is the major complications of untreated chlamydia. Because they are very important. Say babies are by a bit treated as promptly as possible. And I think so. So one now onya chlamydia na yen treat ya a bit me lead to preterm delivery. Or bit me out ne banning them before say acquired a term ebeso. And another complication, ectopic pregnancy. Ectopic, and so PI didn't me explain why ectopic pregnancy never. Say tubes anywhere SC na ovulating or releasing egg na. And I'm say egg into me fat tube no mono. A bit me actor anywhere within the abdominal cavity of obano. So sperm ni be so it me swim all the way from through the cervix into the uterus need to me fat the other fallopian tube na emu da hɔ na emu nsie na fertilization to me take place outside of the uterus. Into it into fertilization take place. I say implantation. I say developing fetus and be implanted or uterus anymore. So implantation and take place within the uterus. They take place outside of the uterus now, and that's when ectopic pregnancy. Yeah, and so it's another complication of chlamydia. Okay. And Oba Virginia has statistics from Virginia Department of Health for 2016 to 2020. Actually, or her graph here may display a showcases by year and by age group. Until share age groups now, I see a graph and I see them. Once there will be a cultural pie started from age 15 all the way to about age 29. And I will say sa group way. And I are any ginamupa chlamydia. And it's the same for all other STIs. It show graphs and it drew up. Now, between that for that 4-year period, no, the total number of cases I report to Virginia was just over 47,000. Over 47,000. Fairly common. The most common bacterial STI infection I what USA. Okay. Thierry chlamydia, no, you call the second commonest reported bacterial STI in the United States, gonorrhea. Very common. Mema. Again, for age group, 15 to 24 age group, transmission through vaginal sex, through anal sex, or through oral sex with an infected person. For most omunya symptoms biya. For gonorrhea, no mema more symptoms. Most omunya symptoms biya. So benya symptom, binya burning sensation or mase. And I said itchiness or mase, a bit vaginal discharge, even though it's not very common. And a bit to me bleeding in between normal periods, intermenstrual bleeding. In the time also says all menstruated, but to me humoja kakra in between menstrual periods. But remember the most remember issue symptoms. Omunya burning sensation on the urination. Omojonso pa. And anywhere from 1 to 14 days after infection, enya penile discharge. Discharge it. Discharge it to me white, it to me yellow, it to me green from the penis. And the mouth there who say why infected with gonorrhea. Treatment, no, to confirm the disease, no, take a swab. The advice a Q-tip, no, 10 the share. Obey man, no, take swab. Now, you test them say gonorrhea and I say a baby for. And then say treatment. Treatment need to say chlamydia, and it's me a one-time injection. And I say injection plus drugs. I'll be known over several days. And so it's very important. Say you be treat your partner. No, say who say oh be a. And I'm saying yeah, a sign and it's very important. Say be treat your partner. And so now some of the complications of gonorrhea, transmission to the newborn. So be any insane on your gonorrhea. Over to me, Edibia Coma, Nebao yet or 1 year from the moon. Say effect or and affect your money and more or her picture was here a colony. Gonorrhea friend of Tamia nonatorium. Eye infection. Gonorrhea and it edema. Now, now, so I have most people's all who chromoha within the first hour, no. The ointment be erythromycin ointment at a fat aquana niase. As a prophylaxis and as a precaution in case they be a gonorrhea be a hormonal diagnosis now protect your colon from getting some disease. No. And another complication PID, pelvic inflammatory disease, I can't want some. No. It may lead to infertility and ectopic pregnancy. No. For members with medium of long-term testicular pain in your testes, it may last for a very long period if untreated. Treated so it may lead to sterilization. Remember, sterilization. Oya krawa. Yeah. And I think so. Oral sex. So bema no den ne bema no she wanum na or gonorrhea ni be it mouth infection or throat. I bet it may lead to sore throat. anal sex, and so it may lead to anal soreness and as a itching around the anus. And I was a life-threatening complication, a friend of disseminated gonococcal infection. And it spread through the bloodstream. It may occur all parts of the body, but usually or joints, and when you be to say arthritis, we have maybe I'm a mouse and a point as a picture or hono. Utimenya skin irritation, skin rashes near there. Utimenya arthritis, joints from the knee to the ankle. Utimenya infection, you arthritis or it's a life-threatening complication of gonorrhea. So you're in treaty, and I see you're treating fully. Okay. And a few statistics for Virginia. Between 2015 and 2019, there were a total of 12,000 cases, 12,137 cases. And then again, the highest incidence, youth between 15 and 24. It bit me extending to 34. Or her graph for that. I'm gonna award the highest prevalence and as an incidence. Okay. I feel last STI be treated for the sake of time, and sending I call HIV, syphilis. Syphilis, so and say another bacterial infection. Now, spread it from person to person by direct contact. Say, obi or syphilis na or a crony be on a hoa. Now, or or body baby can. If you have any cracks on your body, neck or contact, and you have contact with the saw now, and as a saw ni moons you na, which many syphilis ni be. Sa saw no your friend shanka, syphilitic shanka, and ni di no ne brofu di no. Inti shanka na itimi eto any part of your body, from the penis to the anus to rectum, lips and mouth. Into your picture na first one yeah, me mounts ne namsuna. Obi tongue so no, and when you syphilitic ulcer ni be na shanka ni be also. Hands obi penis and syphilitic ulcer no, and as a sore no ebi ato no, and hands here oba bi ase and who baby I red no, and say syphilis ulcer ni bi anas a chrono ebi na ato. Okay. And just like the first two STIs now, kind of syphilis, it means spread it through vaginal, anal, oral sex. A man so more syphilis, if it's not treated, no money is transmitted. Akoma, the unborn child. There are 3 stages of syphilis. The first stage, the appearance of the son or the shanka, a chrono, and in the first stage of syphilis, a chrono towase, and as a ketramaso, and anal area, how and baby son, and only the first stage of syphilis. Now, so no, painless, painless, and yet cry, can say, yeah, and most people they don't even notice it until say, can see. The painless sore at top the genital area. No. Second stage, I started a bra sa so no and I say a bra no. That's when the second stage started. Now I know most of the time most people are more advanced to the second stage, munya sore, munya rashes, usually around the palms on sayem and on name their friend palmar plantar rash. Palmar on some plantar on name rash. Say na it's here her picture na. First one the picture na was near the tall pounds on semono. And a second picture na from no the tall 9 yemono. Yeah. And these are the first 2 stages. And the second stage, the third stage, between the second stage and the third stage, disease, and as an infection enter into a phase be a friend latent period. A latent period, it may last even up to 30 years. A state of dormancy, bibian koso, bana yare edidiumu. By the time of third stage, you drew full blown third stage, na directory. It affects all parts of the body, but specifically it may affect your brain. Ema unya a friend syphilitic encephalitis. Encephalitis and when you meningitis and symptoms in between me make it and when you stroke, no. Yeah. Very deadly at that point, there's very little anybody can do to help. And into some of the symptoms they drew third stage now, neurological symptoms they affect your brain, be a confusion, depression, headaches, numbness, to send when you stroke, and it's me affected when if it be optic neuropathy, neurons, and I say neurons, yeah. I say in but when any more than FM, a connected organs to the brain. Inti sa optic nerve no nerve connected our brain mu a ema ye hu ade. So syphilis na affecting a utimi ya be friend of optic neuropathy. I bet me lead to permanent eye damage or blindness. It mean we call blind completely. And the syphilis so it's very important. And the testing is always important. Emra ubenya new partner. Emra ubenya new partner be it's advised is only you get tested. And then empamu nkita hodie bia. Every time you have a new partner, some ko wario say ukune no akofo bi foforo say whatever the case say unya any new partner, it is advised is that you know your status. And then mbenya nkita hodie bia amonya. Okay. I heard some statistics. So overall, syphilis cases now they have been coming down compared to the other two now you treat. Yeah, it can't no. But then again, the highest incidence, is within that youth age group, we had the highest incidence of between 25, those age between 25 and 29. Okay. After HIV any syphilis and kita ho down on them. Co-infection just say unya ba ko no say nya ba so be a syphilis. Chances of being HIV account very high. Unya HIV so chances of being syphilis on top of HIV and so very high and your friend co-infection. Co-infection between syphilis and HIV are very common. And syphilis I can enhance and as increase the chance your chance of getting HIV by up to 5 times. Yeah, enhance the chances of being HIV by up to 5 times compared to be only syphilis. And I say it's me detect syphilis near treating in tema a bit me reduce the transmission of HIV. Cell medical canon. The syphilis no wa increase your chances of being HIV. When in term near treat a reduce you or risk of getting HIV. Okay. After HIV, and then the last STI, you be treated. Now, yeah, your questions and the contributions. So HIV is normal human immunodeficiency virus, and so first strain is training bacteria and the where virus and the So typically viruses no here a host cell, here nipadua bi no omanyini woni omumu. Sana virus is a unlike bacteria which may have an outside the be realm. It grow outside the human cell. But virus depending on a living cell, no if we be replication or multiply nipadua nimu. Okay. Now HIV virus retrovirus. Retroviruses they are quite unusual. But too technical. It may incorporate DNA. Be a friend RNA. Enzyme be RNA transcriptase. To me use and make copies of their DNA. Normal insert copies of their DNA into whole living host a DNA nimu. That's a count genetic makeup no. Yeah. I can't first or more they are unique in that sense. And the map or more fighting heading because they incorporate their DNA into their host DNA, no, genetic makeup, no. A quite fast over through sexual intercourse. And drugs, and we use IV drugs, or more pushy drugs, then most of them they tend to do that in groups until they share the needles, almost share needles, we are not passing on to the other, no, so they are one of them. Yeah. And it's one common way HIV travel. Again, if it be vertical transmission through the birth process, and some mommy or HIV. Now, yeah, man, a draw, and now according to labor now, or bet me transmit HIV, every anymore at the abandoned money. So, yeah, and man, a draw, obetumi saa de ama no amfa awo ni mu no de mana through the breast milk, no obetumi de HIV no ama ne ba. Now HIV mmoawa no ye omu two types, or HIV1 and HIV2. Yebekom in a minute ahwe the differences between HIV1 and HIV2 no. Nti here some of the common ways that HIV is spread. And the first one is unprotected sex. Or her picture no the kind of unprotected sex. And then the first means that HIV is spreading. I think so. Health workers through exposure to blood and say blood products. So be on needle stick beer from obi infected with HIV. Also waiting HIV through that means. But it can't IV drug users injected drugs, because share needles, increase your chances on be transmitted HIV from one person to the other. So be blood transfusion, any organ transplants, and so organ or tissue transplant, and so it bet me HIV bet me transmitted in that way. Even though in advanced countries, it's US now very insignificant because almost screening blood products, to make sure that HIV and I say any STIs and other infections be any. And a medical pregnancy, childbirth, and a breastfeeding, vertical transmission, and so bet me afa swaba. And here quite being so amount for dreams HIV bet me afa so bad and no correct. So be HIV now so nimu or touching her intimi untiminya HIV nibi. So on any share spoon and as a fork untiminya HIV free so quite so. Kissing okay, so you'll be infected untiminya HIV. And I say insect bite, it's a mosquito bite. Mosquito and Timingo be moja no sound from a cow and me and goom and HIV and yes, I can in a fasoba. And I say so uno be a obi if you chrome share toilet seat and as a public toilet 20 million HIV and freeze means in a so. I say back to the types of HIV. Your HIV1 and HIV2. HIV1 no it is thought say yeah in free certain species of chimpanzees or Central Africa. And at type 2 also. And so it's not clear quite fast whereby, but only say the properties the features maybe is very similar to viruses I affected above a friend is suiting manga base. So more picture no it's a chimpanzee monkey family na be. So almost features and related to certain viruses I who was and more we it is assumed to say a free chimpanzee family name and I buy now HIV2 no and yet as transmittable as HIV1. HIV1 is more HIV2 no and HIV2 no so and progression and turn into AIDS as compared to HIV1 no. Into HIV1 is more transmissible it's also has a faster progression to AIDS compared to HIV2 no. And in advanced world in the advanced countries HIV2 and shana common as compared to HIV1. For that reason in here most research on HIV vaccines in drug manufacturing research has been focused on HIV1 because I know you're more more deadly. And he said, Obinya HIV, na when treat, okay, I think that will come up. So according to statistics from UNAIDS, in 2018, now there were about 38 million people worldwide are almost labeled with HIV. Now, out of this number, 1.7 million were newly diagnosed. That's for 1 year, throughout the world, about 1.7 million people were newly diagnosed with HIV. Now, out of that number, about 770, and I sure in 2018. Now, the vast majority, the infection, I was sub-Saharan Africa. Countries are all below the Sahara Desert, the West Africa, Central Africa, parts of East Africa, all the way to South Africa, no. I want to any jina pa we are seeing now. And on a rate, yeah, about 5.2%. The prevalence rate, it's a little high. To say, Obinya HIV na one seeking treatment, and I say and treating the prognosis, and I say the outcome from infection very high. Say when yes treatment be say nipa 10 enya HIV na man seek treatment be within 10 years na mu 9 more progressive from HIV called AIDS na hwɛ ɔmo nkwa free. The average time from infection to death for untreated HIV is about 8 to 10 years. Over US about 1.1 million people na labeled with HIV according to statistics from CDC of 2017. 1 in every 7 people with HIV no they are infected with HIV. And serious. Over US and so infection is highest in blacks. Now, and it's not because of our genes, as a result of socioeconomic factors, just maybe a lack of access to good medical insurance, and I say poverty, and and yes, the fact that black genetic makeup and socioeconomic factors, and it affected blacks and more mutimi at the highest risk for HIV compared to whites. Over developed countries, they say US, Canada, UK, near there, HIV is more common in males, more common in men because of homosexuality. US are one more men on men either. Now, developing countries is Africa and the rate is equal between a man and men. Yeah. And a young adults, medical can since you started presentation, and they are the greatest risk of HIV infection because of unprotected sexual intercourse and drug use, intravenous drug use, and in your anti. They are always at an increased risk of HIV. Symptoms of HIV. It me in the beginning, it me make any virus infection. So most virus infections, so when you flu and when you cold, symptoms are unya. Yeah, sana HIV in it here because it's a virus infection. Most virus infections start is the flu-like symptoms and awunya. Now it can take several years and symptoms now as that is appear. A bit may include fatigue. Onya so what is a brain tentem. Utiminya swollen lymph nodes or body nitrogen jua wamoto mune o kon and or senate baby at Tisano. Utimizunya ulcers, the crotumi to around the genital area and other parts of the body. Muscle aches, joint pain, diarrhea, recurring fever, chills, cough, and shortness of breath. It may affect a wide range of neurological disorders. And these are some of the symptoms of HIV. HIV, there are about 4 stages. The last stage, is acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. Into any the end stage of HIV, as a spectrum, or a spectrum, 2 free and alcohol. we start stage 1 HIV is the final stage, stage 4 no. Now unya drew sana your free BCD4 counts cells no, and cells no will go below 200 200 and below, and a diagnosis say I feel what drew AIDS, well, what for HIV about AIDS. At that point, utiminya your free be opportunistic infections, and I'm say immune system no cause so low ninety. Your case will be opportunities or will take advantage of a situation because our immune system now cause so low, body defenses in our form no. You begin to have opportunistic infections. Until it is a tuberculosis. And it was a very common, so more is almost as our TB. If it be Kaposi sarcoma. I was looking for a picture, my picture. And come me the betre. There will be a friend with wasting syndrome. Or share picture yeah, if an SWAT unexplained weight loss, chronic diarrhea, and now we all the ketamine as well when you thrash. Then your friend white, yeah, when you thrash, I want it. I want the ketamine as well to the back of the throat. These are opportunistic infections that when you drew ACE stage just our body defenses in our form into Arabia, me ever ball. And most of the symptoms at this stage, and symptoms related to opportunistic infection. And it's a TB in a bear symptom, cough, chronic cough, ubo now or fimojanis anyamano. Symptoms in our behu. So oral candidiasis in a bear who's at white, or cataract, so the back of the throat. Into AIDS and no. I feel the relationship between HIV and STIs. And both of them through sex and a deba, whether it's vaginal sex, anal sex, and also oral sex. And populations with a high rate of STIs also show high rates of sexually transmitted HIV. Edikanka say unya STI no unya syphilis, gonorrhea, ni chlamydia, ni nyina a weakening body immune system no. Chances of betting any HIV are very high. Okay. Inti hana yedi enumerate. Okay, many preventions. Sorry, na yemfa enumerate embre. Inti akwan benso na befa so prevent from HIV and any other STIs. Inti the surest way, abstinence. You know, abstinence is very hard. Even your mom you cry almost is cry. Who preach abstinence? It is any or Tony Marcher. Inti the surest way is not to have sex with so many partners. Only obi enya sankita wudi na nipa baako pɛ ɛna only enya sankita wudi no. And I said I make before before you enter into any sexual relationship make sure say nipa na only enya sankita wudi no. You are testing both of you ma testing mo will be status. Also nipa na nibi answer want to many enya sankita wudi no. And don't share needles. And you may etwitwa any needles grab blade in this anyoma no. And it's not advised say be share. More worry for that is fine, but in the household, papa the blaze take a year and a bounce off of those things that it's not advised here, but share sign your man. I feel so. Protection is always important. Say you want to be on friend harm reduction. To say okay, baby, is a DCR. Public health system now on to me. Distribute to needles, some drug injection drug users, because himself the other can be our own bay. The other can be our own bay in tea. And as I am, your mom will need those in the brain. So we use what the on to me on pass it, the way you shouldn't come over before. Nipa upon bet me and no one needle, non so drugs nipping up or inject and on so inject it into harm reduction. It be a condom use. Overcome most colleges as a common practice. Overcome lecture hall seats and as on the condom of was here because I'm necessarily be youth and they will have sex. And it's better to have protection than say we having unprotected sex. And testing is always important. So call any local
Look.
yeah county clinic, Fairfax County for AB, means Prince William for AB. Any of their clinics, or make it up right now, STI testing, HIV testing, free. Say, testing now, if you come back positive, treatment, so I'm making my treatment free, and at any cost, and as a cost bed in Bia and also. Youth, and also, Senipano is 16 and younger, 16 and below, or making me tested without parental consent. But the results need back positive they have to inform parents, among the omobana or minor no any HIV nibi. They do that senior nipano wait me a seek treatment down here. Now cause one and spread the HIV no. But say negative among cancer will be they only inform the parents positive nipano is 16 and below. So above 16 and then whatever the outcome among cancer will be. And I doing so means that health workers they do it a lot, pre-exposure prophylaxis and post-exposure prophylaxis. Okay. And avoid drugs, avoid alcohol because they impair your judgment. Amount to make good decisions. Say no one say as or your drugs it may or their own person obey. And for the youth, saying no to peer group influence. And so it's very key. Beboa, I mean, I halted the spread of HIV and other STIs. Intimate manu be here, Madam Asepa say Mati. So be what question as a contribution be obey me at the aba this time.
Okay, but show me so also make my kasaka crack.
Roger.
Yo. Yeah, that's bebree power. Addition with their my and stroke no nipa bebree preach about stroke, but stroke no my details aboa me papa. Thank you for that. But the net dear no. But to me a clear way mammy. Okay, say obi or HIV likely so obetumi anya syphilis. And I say so was syphilis na obetumi so anya HIV. But now say say in case say nipa no HIV na okesewa and I say who use ne fork a unya. Say nipa no was syphilis no HIV na saa de no obetumi aye. Abra wonya bi na betumi aklama me cases and folk use no because syphilis no ye contact.
Yeah. So syphilis and so or all sunny be on a catcher must nenum. Now and through that in the obetimianya syphilis. Say any cut on your skin now all come into contact with secretions and as in soon free all animals, syphilis, all animal, or syphilis a chrono. So when you contact now or any cut and as any break or skin in more, obetimianya syphilis through that means. But HIV, okay, so be or HIV, I want to mean yabi.
Okay, that's that.
That's don't say Mr. Obenza also.
Yeah, doctor, radio, that's a prayer. You mean, sure, na me question is, now, Cassa, HIV, say, 31, you say, no matter no, and what chimpanzee money be beside on a day ever. And besides, and when a debate, a day, any part, yes, we be by require them one in any sexual contact.
Yeah.
That's it.
But it's a good question. So most infection, you're free. Most of those types of infection, you're free and more animal. But say only viruses here constantly ni omo go through replication. Omo change your form no. What I said to say COVID viruses no. Say almost isolating the first time in Central Africa was around Uganda area or no more. Ewo more and within time no it went through a process no changing the one a bedroom stage after it me infecting nipa. Inti we no they first isolated the virus, chimpanzees, but over time, no, I go through some processes. Meaning, say nipa na mo akodai o say den, and eventually betimi ebe nipa. In the US, I say, it started in 1981. A member be na two gay men almost started spread, and it has gone through several changes over time. I bedu that time all type 1 and a type 2, and the virus is more be up to this time. Vaccine be for some of these viruses, konapa. And I go through several changes. Even flu vaccine, say flu viruses, they go through several changes. Influenza, avian influenza, bird flu, swine flu, most of them they started from one animal, and through viruses properties, and they are more proper, almost replicating they almost free like non-infective forms for humans, ebedru infective form afe nipa ebetimi a started a transmitted amaye. It is simple as I made me the amount. There are several conspiracies also among for speculative brains. HIV, it was developed in the lab, and at the end, there's any conspiracies around COVID at also. But no woman say as originated from some of these, they experiment with them in the labs. Sending amount for kanampa. It's me mistake to me ba ama etimi free lab no matimi infecting nipa and all right, but in this case enya sa kwan no so na fa by means makasa bebre. I hope some answer or question. Me who Sister Lucy.
Yo, me that's a doctor. Me patch me question is say senior as a 16 na HIV in so queen no. E betimi aba say obi wo syphilis na say ye na test for HIV ye syphilis ni betimi asie. Me nim se mak a ye nhu no ana say to say Carmen has a grill
And
video.
this enya the same test near the HIV and syphilis. And but the same sample no meeting we are tested for HIV and syphilis. But what you say? And they have to, because there was certain reagent they can blood and why they tested for each one of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's say which them ye betimi aba say obi nimienu nyinaa but bia ya na syphilis test ni ya na HIV nko test ya syphilis yes doctors a wo mu nhunu
Yeah. As out and nimienu enye abo ba ko na deba syphilis in a bacteria and HIV in a
virus.
and as I will test it for sa particular bacteria and as a virus now be but you more
Yo nani na me de me question way to us say senior ya can say syphilis yetimi fa fluid and want to say HIV no me fa ni say be a restaurant obi aduane chema na say bibi cha na ebi obi wo bi na twa bi won a o bet me add ya chama ni power aduane mu ana
and you're very likely.
okay
And you're very likely. Yeah. When she's
but
direct skin to skin.
okay
Yeah.
but oba advice here say be a coach dear shiemu a cutlery didi ne be hwe say be a we nye say we di atrech na nu ahwe nanum na wo so age na wate ade ahwe wonum bi
Yeah, and not yet. And yet just for syphilis, for COVID by say it was one of the precautions. Yeah. Because one to me stay on surfaces for some time and then normal wound. It's advice and your share no. Make sure say what is infected, and that's why who see your parents and also use it.
yeah that's it
That's Mr. Kwatiamani.
Okay, Dr. Bachama Simbusan say, mo hwehwɛ mu no ayi aba pɛnse obi wɔ no ma unya saa yare a yɛka ho asɛm yi bi but akyiri no no a ne system no tumi fight overcome no biribi wɔ saa ɛyɛ possible.
Yeah. Examples or
Na ɛno die ntia reason ne sɛ
explanation be brave, but the simple you know say most of the time what's it Papa no about LA Lakers, Magic Johnson. He's one such person. He diagnosed him with HIV miraculously. A few years later, na you're free mo. Also, mommy be akatani by be a friend Henrietta Lask. Yeah, almost tested, almost taking cells from a testing for cervical cancer back in the 50s or the 60s. Now cells, they were outside the living, omo lab, omo testing we are cells in the EU, but for some reason the cells in continuously grow da. Nyina basis that time. Many were in the 70s, but the cells na they isolated free in the service na course why nyina be through that time. Scientists are really more person who didn't a mass by up to now munya answer bia. Some cells ni be na boa ma develop a vaccine for COVID no. Until every now and then, medical miracles may be happen. And to me, they try to come up with explanations, but yeah, the simple thing is a miraculous process being a coso. Yeah. And definitely be a horse. Magic Johnson is one example. There are a few other people as well. Almost testify say almost status setting are changing over time.
Okay, but my second question, you know, factors in tia and ma is nice a dose why to tune for you. I hold no man tia see.
Mm-hmm.
Now, because a socio-economic factors. I may just
Yeah.
say, I mean, any is yeah, away move with the link in the womb.
Okay. And my mama example, so Mount Vernon area, zip code 22306, zip code no. Omo ben highway no, Richmond Highway no. Same zip code no. Omo life expectancy are lower than omo ben in Suna no. Baby abrofo dodo na atie no. Even though they are within the same zip code no. Omo ben highway no. Life expectancy extra compared to omo ben in Suna no. Omo ben Suna no nyini chen. And the difference the woman is saying ben in Suna no, they have better housing system. Highway in Channel, there's overcrowding. Houses, you find molds. What you say? The educational gap, most of them are highly educated. They make better income. Highway, and these are factors when you find socio-economic factors, Now, most of the time, in favor blacks, Say, obi socio-economic status is higher. They can afford better health system. They don't have to depend on government and also on insurance and as a healthcare affordable. But what I say, they're able to afford better groceries, and we are no more in a high quality. So our groceries are certain zip codes, and then another other zip codes are blacks and Hispanics a majority or now. Fruits near the differences won't be break. Meat on differences won't be break. And this annual kind of socio-economic factors. I want to our life expectancy. So any certain common infections, cancers, they are affecting people. And even though we all live in the same zip code, but some of these differences they are very apparent between the haves and the have-nots. And with HIV, unse yare bebree boa you blacks in minorities in bebree because socio-economic status no form no say obi wo ha okowura adwuma mu anopa obepia ate sɛ anwummerɛ nti time nkora no obenya de akɔ doctor's appointment sɛ biribi yɛ na menim obi me neighbor bi na ɔka asɛm hwɛ me obi nya ne toe ɔsane afiri ne staircase so na ɔbɛhwe fam na ɔkɔfa ne ba ɛna ne toe ebuiɛ but ɔnni sika ɔde bɛkɔ ɔbɛfrɛ emergency ɔno nso ɔbɛfrɛ emergency ɔba bɛfa no yɛde bill kakra bɛbrɛ no nti ɔno ade tape sellotape ɛkyekyere ne nan no ɛma ɛswɛle different complications bebree meanwhile sanka immediately no call or friend 911 and then call hospital a bit may reduce I can say fracture na mano. Ama within a few days I started healing. Ama ne ho atɔ no. And some of these factors, you know, but they go a long way to determine our health outcomes. And some of these factors, you know, they come into place about certain diseases, cancers, and infections. Until that time, who's a blacks in the minority, and your masano, yaris ano, any more, any say who free homes or more. Yeah. Offer BB the says suicidal. Abrofo Abrafunya suicidal tendencies more. They get depressed more than blacks. But statistics now said they seek help more than black people. Even though Omunya no more than black people, no, they seek help more than black people. Into don't need pay from suicide attempts in almost among them compared to black people. Me say mwanda.
So,
And
Okay.
Mami Sanka, there's another concept to be I'm friend weathering. WEATHERING. COVID time na amount for started use our term no. Almost say as a result of slavery, any yawa the blacks in the firm no. Any effect on our genetic makeup no. And I'm friend weathering no. And because any side effect on their genetic makeup no, they are more susceptible to diseases. What I say, a weakened slavery normally come no. They are transmit ya common and nani and cancer so. Ama from slavery no and they they are going through the same thing. And in a way, no, and to me weakening our immune system. As to whether it's true or not, you know, it's out there amount for a can once a normal film. And these are all factors that me contribute to why a casa area then be a black to say normal no more compared to white people.
Mede kakra bi ka ayi ho sɛ ɔn sɛ nipa a ɛwɔ wiase no ebi mu wɔ extra immunity. Yɛ obi wɔ hɔ nom a te sɛ yɛwɔ Ghana obi wɔ hɔ nom a malaria mpɛmpɛ ma akɔ Ghana pɛ na ɔnyɛ malaria. Obi wɔ bɛkɔ akɔda mpoano ɛyi kɔlɔgɔnɔ ano ama mmoa no adwe naa ɔnyɛ malaria. Nti saa na HIV ne sisiɛ. Do ne kunu no the ɔbaa no wɔ HIV so bɛma ne ne HIV so mmienu nyinaa na that time sorry. There are so many things that happen in life wa wontumi nti asa ne Nyankopɔn ayɛ nti na ebi yɛ sikafo ebi yɛ hiafo obi wɔ hɔ nom a the way an immunity ne sisiɛ no ɛyɛ very very strong wa it may withstand with strong diseases saa ne Nyankopɔn ayɛ a wonti nyame ase sɛ wokɔ soro ase na wɔtumi akɔbusa ana yɛ saa so hwɛ economic nso a yɛhwɛ a yɛnya sɛdeɛ yɛhu African Americans no saa ne wɔn ne yɛ black the same thing differences bi yɛ anim si yɛhwɛ ahasi a ɛyinfoɔ na wɔn ayɛ yie ɛyɛ white no ɛyinfoɔ na ɛte yɛfrɛ no sɛ ɛdan papa mu ɛyɛ white no wopa aba no ko ghetto ɛyɛ blacks yɛ a na yɛwɔ yɛsan so so wɔ grandma wɔyare koraa na ɔse ne maame bɛsɛ wɔkɔtie grandma ne traditional yi bi na wɔkyeki ɔnkɔ hospital. See, there are so many males what blacks mu a yɛ no ɛma yɛ immune system no ɛba fam a ɛma yɛ no kyerɛ sɛ woba yɛmbu America ha se a sɛ woyi wɔ mu a ɔmo yɛ drugs paa na almost about 80% yɛ blacks. Yɛnyɛ ɛti baabi fi wɔ paa 80% 90%. Nti yadeɛ bi wɔ hɔ no a yɛfo de bɛnya no dodo yɛbɛnya 80% to the 90% of any diseases bi a ɛsan de ahase more than the whites. And nti na yɛ no the disease is more predominant in the blacks than the whites.
Rachel, maybe some question.
Gotcha,
Yeah, okay. But who's okay more of America? But I said this year we share Joy News. The data better on Ghana is so high. For some reason it has become so high, HIV rating. And it's among a statifi 15-year-old in the female in Kalano. And we share a man in the one more. Because I think I don't know, is it because
yeah, man, we are the receivers, you know. Internal man one more because Bema Bakunya, which is easy for that Bema to spread it to more in math than Obalibinya, Ober spread their mark. Me question maybe someone want to say, who say to Chroma say, it's a controversial question anyway. Yes, to Chroma say, Boa or Simi Kogana, December do me Korea, ma, Eboa, why you? Wong, and now, you know, or baby me come Quaco Jimmy. Do you think, say, as nipa corner spouse, so what spouse when you sort of step out of the marriage all the time, is it advisable for you to insist we should use protection or and I say request say I know my question is very controversial. Or request say there should be a test done and test in the crown no nipa corner figure na background now insist like within how many months and then I'll be say HIV so when you're winner. And my second question is say Roma say me who say almost say pania bad one once a month for HIV instead of taking weight running in a and is there any pania I remember say something flashed me. Now me sure we be and I mean who adverts we say there's another pania say spouse and when you say you have a spouse that steps outside the marriage now, you will not get it. I didn't get it right, but I don't know if there's a pioneer for prevention, like for you to get it from your spouses and that's it.
That's it. Question is very, very good. So me for last one first. So there are medications that will take care. Will stay undetectable. Will stay but then I don't just only be so till this day. No, you need any cure for HIV. There are only drugs that boost your immune system. No, ultimate a check with HIV. No, until you can live several years on some medication. No, because a boil with the immune system. No. Increase your cell count and reduce viral load in the I bet me what check. Now the minimum said there are drugs that a boy will stay undetected, but I don't just say arena echo. You stay undetected, but I don't just say arena echo. And I okay about why yeah, so it's true for all STIs, they are greater risk HIV. And part of it is because they are receivers and you can even with gay men no omo receivers no omo receptive in our sex no omo ye form to no sebi they had more risk of STIs and HIV compared to the opposite side no. And yes, it's true. They had more risk for HIV any STIs HMM. And how can what's the can they say AJ more so for actually say I've heard stories of maybe a couldn't to quite the condoms in the mom because is anything the baby I only be or baby or and the proactive condoms fan combo but as to the moral aspect ni BB and they made them also for now also for answer and how longer which HIV now answer na what me who say will be the freebies seroconversion it take up to about 6 months from the time I will be infection ubenya free be ho copy say e best start ya daddy the test where be who say we are positive. It takes about 6 months and then a seroconversion will take place. Am I getting a detect this here? A test so HIV maybe. To meaning say our them say also for an answer phone be per or then no two. I think that we be last one. Nah, the chairman penny for.
No, for sure, it won't say, I will say, me, if you money, near Macra, me, for HIV, ban, man, say. A man in Yadi more because they are recipients. na oba bia na so so kese bia na na more unlikely so or the money because men
also
get
baby already.
oba or like say or what na so parks here na so kese no na very difficult because a member in two abrasions. The more there is a frictions, the more you get abrasion, the more there is a fluid what transmission. And you need to know say oba na you know friction enter okay. There's anything that you poor na be or no me man into me you know. Ne money no matter how the person deposit your friend say and spends no corner be no ubenya. Sana mimi hwehwɛ mu ne nyɛma bebree wɔ no so a mɛsua firi ada doctors no hɔ nom a ɔmaka ma hu sɛ the more na yɛfrɛ no sɛ no nnipa no wɔ large you know yɛ na ɛyɛ unlikely sɛ bɛma no ɛbɛnya yɛfrɛ no sɛ HIV virus no maybe.
Doc, we me fa ayi bemra na kakra mo hu ewo wo field mo mwae ayi system America ha system no etimi determine obi health say yen no na say may yen no na menim senia mo mwae ayi kakra ahwehwe mu akoduru no because say ebedu ba bi no obi wa ha yare ba ko a ode beko hospital no esan say by race ninti no treatment pa was here the man no ne sanka but manin koye the other race no dominant e wa hanom na omo right to everything no e basa na omo de omo timi nya treatment bia all kinds of treatment bia was on the second no timi survive no ne sentimi kan e ma ne survive minim senia mo field no etimi e fight against our system no e ya na the group people so sa keke say o do be bia oh yeah, ultimately take legal action. But to be take legal action at the end of the day, no, the same and that's all a effect. Minimum there, so will be big to every can found there.
Kaka meeting I can say obiara take oath say do no harm into treat patients all patients equally. But yenim say as sorry democracy obiara on a preference. There are certain biases that a carry over from if you are sitting them to me could sorry them. And it is how every field. And it be okra na bias per se. Un say doctor try drama wa ebi wa there are certain considerations omo cost any day ebi wa is out of pocket into to show the type of insurance our ne saa nyoma ni nyina affordability a drobi wa ebi a generic no any brand name ni bi a betimi aye adwuma ma entem a change generic no but or the type of insurance and as a be on insurance how betimi afford it ni nyina come to play I know any buyers and as a BBR. But as to say so be making decisions or be treating and on treating there, I don't think they're very common. Although my hubby or Mount Vernon Hospital na physician be no na me shadow no na akata ni mami bi onya infection be on the throat. Na within 2 weeks now akwa about 3 times. Enti na yes or prescribe a drobi man or say a drum may or prescribe on your sure class or benum. And there's no point. Or she will come back anyways. And there's no point. And this sa instances in a be or hosa. But many shows will be shed up as on the patient no hope. Say or yare. Because at the end of the day, and be having a person will be the patient no at all. Then I just charge a man coffee. Nti mean to me nka say ni ho kra na mean to me nka say ho amanfo hyɛ da pai nipa gu ahodo and obi ane ne motivations and I said ne enyoma motivating man oye de oye ti I hope some answer amo
Yeah, that's it.
adeɛ kakra sɛ wo mi sɛ woyɛ boxer Nese ntokona akokono unim say referee betimi awie bia mo a make sure so be man knockout. Woman and knockout and watch what you to moja. There is no way as a referee where yet they want to mean I said yeah one as no I won't mean so na wo ye one year because we didn't. It would the say well move by said yes the doctor Akeka and multiple partners make sure protect yourself. So yes, I didn't know why you're not go hospital when you HIV when you're syphilis and go hospital. And you may be in an Emma. It's prevention is better than say I want to get the infection. Now me kwa na my health will say I'm going to be treated better and I say and you better. It's me moment there always be an yen fear who see yesterday be ya yen infection no na yetimi akonya any calamity at the hospital.
Okay. And then also the last one.
Okay. Me there na me can there from a religious point of view. Na you maybe e kasa efa condom ho so to ama spouse and I say and now say ye Christopher Wuntino. Wuntimi ntos condom emma ukunu and answer wo yire so okogana bi obeye yi ntino I was say me to. Oh yes sir, you are encouraging your spouse to do what he is not supposed to do. And you know the main kwama adwene de nya advisable say wo be encourage you kuna na wo yire. Medamase.
Right, as a party. Yeah, the Canadian also ebesia. The Munina mas mobile money effect. Nyame aduma ochina. Ebenya oho. Doctor be free year. Oni abe ya adisua pen or chon nyame aduma. Or the enkwache or nearby. Ebisua biafa pancreatic cancers. Nti message say nyina yambra entem 8 o'clock pepe na ye shase. Ebe da chama ma mesewa.
abusuafoɔ yɛda mo nyinaa mo ase sɛ moaba ma adesua yi ayɛ kama awurade nhyɛ mo bebree yɛda elda nso yɛn yɛ Dr. Frank nso ase ɛwɔ adesua nsɛm a na wɔde abrɛ yɛn sɛdeɛ ɔkaeɛ no ɔkyena yɛbɛsua pancreatic cancer nti mo nyinaa mo mmra na momfrɛ deɛ wantumi ama no monka nkyerɛ no no mmra na yɛnyɛ ma no nyɛ fɛ na ayi adesua a na wɔde maa yɛyi na me kakra me bɛ na me pɛ sɛ mede toa so ne sɛ ayi sɛdeɛ yareɛ no STD no ne ayi no gonorrhea ne syphilis no ɛsie wo sɛsɛ mmaa no a yɛnim no ɛbɛsɛ sɛ ayi sɛ wokɔ yearly check-up a wobɛtumi once in a while no ama na waka kyerɛ doctor ne sɛ wopɛ sɛ wɔnkyɛke wo gonorrhea ne syphilis no ɛbɛboa me a metaa yɛ bi wɔ ha bi a 3 years bi wɔ ha na mama doctor na check ne nyinaa ama me make sure sɛ biribiara yɛ kama because what sɛ bi a untreatable no cause more trouble ɛna na prevention so na woka biribi sɛ yɛnhwɛ yɛn ho yie mfiri cut ne braid sharing no ɛno no na sɛ yɛkɔ barbering shop no nso a ɛyɛ careful deɛ ɔnyɛ registered anaasɛ ɛhɔ nyɛ clean anaasɛ yiri ɛno sɛ no more likely sɛ yɛbɛtumi anyagya saa yareɛ yi bi ɛyɛ HIV no nti no abusuafoɔ yi da mo nyinaa mo ase sɛ nkaebɔ bi wɔ hɔ a mobɛtumi yɛaba yi kaebɔ bi ni hɔnom a yɛbɛma yɛ elder ɛda ɔbɛn ahyira so ama yi
Yeah, actually for mom yen shira so. Yen so na nyame ya da wase anwumre se ene wayi Dr. Frank amaye. No dia disua sonkun amaye. Se ebe yetumi aye nkunimdifo agye se wo Kristo Yesu ka ye ho. Enti yesro se ka ye ho. Bo ye ho ban da biara da. Ye kwa ye ba nyina no ma ho kronkron no enka ye ho. Na yenyi abrabọ papa di. na empo sɛ ɛsan bi na de saa wɔ haw yi ɛbrɛ yɛ nea onyame twe yɛ firi ho da biara da no ma yɛ ahoɔden nkwa tenten na yɛntumi ɛmfa ɛntena ase ɛnsom wɔ kristo yesu yɛdi ntetimu hwɛ yɛ kra ne nipadua so na ho ma sɛm biara wɔ yɛ ho ban no ka yɛ ho na yɛbɛhyia mu bie mu a yɛde ayɛyie ne aseda ama wo wɔkyena yɛbɛtoa so yɛsrɛ sɛ dɔkta a ɔbɛba abɛdi yɛn anim yi ka ne ho ɛna bɔ ne ho ban na ɔntumi mmra mmɛkyerɛkyerɛ yɛn na yɛmfa biribi mfirim na atumi asiesie yɛn ama nkwagyeɛ yɛda wase anwummere yi sɛ waka yɛn ho na wabɔ yɛn ho ban na yɛde adesua yɛ akɔ awieyɛ asomdwoeɛ mu ɛwɔ w'adom nti amen
Amen.